Really good to go. Second time. Good evening, everyone. Welcome along, councillors, members of the public. My name is Joseph Hill. I'm the Director of Environment and Planning. This evening, I'll be starting the procedural motion regarding the election of a chairperson for this evening's meeting. As the Environment and Planning Committee chairperson, Councillor Mahoney, welcome. As unable to chair this meeting tonight, a vote be taken of the councillors present and appointed to the Environment and Planning Committee to elect a chairperson for this meeting. Can I have a nomination, please? Councillor Mahoney.
Thank you, Mr. Hill. Could I nominate Deputy Mayor Gore for the position, please?
Could I call for a second, please?
Yeah.
Councillor Wayne, thank you. In that case, I'll call for a vote in the absence of any other nominations. All those in favour? Those against? No. Councillor Paul, would you like to take the seat? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hill. I will declare the meeting open at 7:04 p.m. So welcome to tonight's meeting of the Environment and Planning Committee meeting. I'll start with the acknowledgement of country. I would like to acknowledge the Bidjigal people of the Eora Nation, who are the traditional custodians of all lands, waters and sky in the Georges River area. I pay my respect to elders past and present and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples who live, work and meet on these lands. There are no apologies tonight for tonight's meeting. And there were also no requests to attend via audio-visual link. Notice of live streaming of the council meeting. Staff and public are reminded that this meeting is being recorded for minute-taking purposes and is also being broadcast live to the public on council's website in accordance with Section 5 of council's Code of Meeting Practice. The recording will be made available on council's website. Code of Meeting Practice. The order of business is as shown in the agenda, which has been made available. Staff and public are reminded that this meeting is open. Doors to the meeting room are to be left open unless the meeting moves into a closed confidential session, according to Section 14 of the Code of Meeting Practice. Only if the meeting moves into a closed confidential session will the public broadcasting of the meeting be suspended. Council's Code of Meeting Practice prohibits the electronic recording of meetings without the express permission of council, and mobile phones must be turned to silent during the meeting. Disclosures of interest. Now, there are a number of disclosures of interest tonight, and they are all up on the screen. I'm not going to read them all out. The staff are just going to scroll through that slowly on the screen, and they will all be published in the minutes. They're all, councillors will be remaining in the chamber for all of those, except for Councillor Ambi Haberha, who has declared a pecuniary interest on EMV 030-24, which is the endorsement of additional and diverse housing planning proposal for the Georges River LGA. So Councillor Ambi Haberha will be leaving the chamber for discussion of that item. Do any other councillors have any other interest to declare? No? Okay, excellent. Well, before we move to the public forum, would just like to welcome our new Director of Environment and Planning, Mr. Joseph Hill. We're very happy to have you on board and joining this committee and giving us your leadership and guidance. You'll learn that we have a very active and engaged community here in Georges River with a very keen interest in the environment. And this committee here has worked really hard. The councillors, your team, the staff here and the community have built a really positive and collaborative relationship. So we look forward to that continuing under your leadership. So welcome. And also wanted to just make special mention to welcome back Councillor Peter Mahoney. So for those unaware, Councillor Mahoney was involved in a very serious car accident about 5 weeks ago and has been in hospital since that time. And we're really pleased to have you back, Peter. And I know that you've been very keen to get back to your council business, and everyone here is really delighted to have you back and joining the committee again tonight. So welcome back. And so we will move to the public forum, and we have one registered speaker for tonight's meeting, Mr. Adrian Polhill. I can't see him though. Oh, he's joining remotely. Okay, sorry. Okay, I didn't see that. So Mr. Adrian Polhill is joining online. So if you want to give me the nod when he's there. He's speaking on EMV 025-24, endorsement of the biodiversity character and FSPA planning proposal for gateway determination.
Good evening, Adrian speaking.
Hello, Ms. Polhill. This is Councillor Elise Borg here. You are now dialed into the Environment and Planning Committee meeting for your address in the public forum. So if you would, you're speaking on the endorsement of the biodiversity character and FSPA planning proposal for gateway determination. If you would like to go ahead, please.
Thank you, Elise. Yes, good evening, everybody. Firstly, I'd like to welcome Councillor Peter Marnie back to the Environmental Planning Committee. Peter, you're doing an amazing job on your rehabilitation, and I'm glad to see you're back in the room, and I look forward to many more meetings with you. So great to see you there. Thank you. The reason to speak about this, I'm very, very pleased to thank everybody concerned about the outcome that's before us now on the biodiversity and character studies and the preparation of the amended foreshore scenic protection area. It's been a great result. I think Joseph Hill is also in the room tonight, and I just want to explain that this has been a fabulous collaboration between the community and the council and the councillors, which started approximately 4 years ago in 2020 with the initial response to the draft LEP, when there was over 1,153 submissions concerning the changes in the LEP, and particularly over 400 concerning the changes to the FSPA. So, Joseph, we've come a long, long way, and everybody in the room has made wonderful contributions in those ensuing 4 years. There's been biodiversity studies prepared, unique character studies prepared. There's been submissions to council about those from the community. And it's been a wonderful journey, because as we've learned and worked together, particularly with your predecessor, Joseph, we've been able to form a very collaborative approach. And this outcome really shows working together with the community and the council and the councillors has really paid off. So it's a great journey. Oatley Flora and Fauna Conservation Society looks forward to many more collaborations, and the community, of course, on other planning objectives and strategic plans in the future. So it's a wonderful to see such a document come out. We think it's going to be very good for the community, very good for the environment, and I congratulate the council on what they've been able to achieve. I think that's all from me. Thank you, Elise, and good luck with the rest of the meeting.
Thank you, Adrian. Thank you. And that is our only registered speaker for tonight. So now we move on to the confirmation of minutes of the previous meeting, EMV 024-24, confirmation of the minutes of the Environment and Planning Committee meeting held on the 11th of June 2024. Moved by Councillor Catras.
It was actually moved by me. I had my...
Sorry, okay. Moved by Councillor Lansbury and seconded by Councillor Catras. Okay, councillors, any comments on the minutes? If not, I'll put the motion. Do we need to go around for that one? Yep, and we'll go around the room.
Madam Deputy Mayor.
For the motion.
Councillor Marnie.
For.
Councillor Anne Capar. For. Councillor Jamieson. For. Councillor Catras. For. Councillor Lansbury. For. Councillor Wang.
For.
With 7 votes, unanimous.
I declare the minutes of the previous meeting carried. And we move on to the committee reports. The first item is EMV 025-24, endorsement of the biodiversity character and FSPA planning proposal for gateway determination. Before I move a call for a mover and seconder, I'll call for a mover and seconder in a moment, Councillor Catras, and I'm going to ask our Manager of Strategic Planning, Ms McMahon, to just give us an overview of this report, please.
Through you, Madam Chair. This matter was previously before the committee in March this year, when the committee considered a report in response to all the submissions received from the community on the foreshore scenic character study and the biodiversity study. That report summarised the submissions received, assessed whether or not an amendment to our planning controls was required, and detailed components of a planning proposal that would support those two study recommendations. Council resolved at that meeting Council resolved on the 25th of March to adopt the minutes of that committee meeting and endorse the preparation of a biodiversity and character planning proposal. A draft planning proposal has been prepared by officers and is provided in attachment 1 to this report. The planning proposal is known as the Biodiversity, Character and Foreshore Scenic Protection Area, PP. The PP has been prepared to amend various clauses and maps to the Georges River LEP to implement the recommendations of both studies. The implementation of the recommendation also requires 2 additional clauses, one relating to local character and the other relating to biodiversity, as well as 2 additional maps. The amendments to the Georges River LEP are outlined in paragraph 43, table 2 of the report. The planning proposal meets both the strategic and site-specific merit tests that are outlined in the New South Wales Government LEP making guideline dated August last year. In accordance with the direction from the Minister for Planning, the planning proposal was referred to the Georges River Local Planning Panel on the 20th of June. The planning panel has recommended to Council that they endorse the planning proposal in attachment 1 and it be forwarded to the Department of Planning, Housing and Infrastructure for a gateway determination. The planning proposal is now presented to the committee with a recommendation that Council forward the planning proposal for that gateway determination. Once we receive a gateway determination, it will be exhibited in accordance with the Georges River engagement strategy. Thank you, councillors.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. Councillors, I'll now call for a mover and seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Catras, seconded by Councillor Marnie. Councillors, are there any discussions, questions?
Yeah.
Councillor Catras.
Look, I've gone through this and I must say it's an excellent document. You've done a lot of work. And I've also got to say that as Mr. Adrian Polville had indicated, it was a consultative situation between the council and the community. But I've got a couple of questions and maybe just a couple of comments, and I'd like to hear, I'm posing them through the chair to the director. The first one is, it's got to do with page 20 and it's got to do with double E in brackets. And it says to respect the character of Georges River communities. Now, does community actually refer to the environment too, or are we just talking about the people and the culture? Because I really believe that on the end of that, the double E, and this is just a suggestion, I don't suggest that you have to do it. Double E says to respect the character of Georges River communities or their desired future character.
Through Chair, I'll defer to Ms. McMahon to answer.
Through you, Madam Chair. The character clause contains that desired future character. So it's just, our consultants have recommended that we just refer to communities because our suburbs don't align with different character communities. So my recommendation is to go with our consultants and leave the word as communities.
But you have got it somewhere else, I know, and that
yes.
takes priority over what's been said here.
Yes, and also the draft instrument would need to go through Parliamentary Council and they may have a different wording as well. So at this stage, I would recommend that we stay with our consultants.
Thank you, Catherine. Yeah, I follow through with something else, and it's got to do with page 26, item 3, item 3A, more A, yeah. Now, I look at that, if you read it, before determining a development application for development on land to which this clause applies, the consent authority is to be satisfied that the development retains and protects trees and vegetation that contribute to the scenic character. Now, this is a clause, that's the clause, and I'm just enlighten me on it. I've had a recent situation where Queen's councillors and barristers and all sorts of people like that, with regards to Waverley clause in Waverley Council's LEP, as to whether it was a prohibition or something that can be reviewed on the basis of a section 4.6 variation. The words indicate, the words that I wouldn't say concern me, but I'm putting to you, the words are retains and protects trees. I have no problem in retaining and protecting trees. But if it's a prohibition, it means no development can happen on that block of land if there's a tree right in the middle of the site.
I think we'll refer that question.
Through you, Madam Chair, it's not a development standard. Again, we're relying on our consultants, and also the draft provisions that are outlined in red in this report will be supported by a development control plan amendment. That amendment hasn't been prepared yet because we are waiting to see what the gateway determination looks like, but there will be a definition or an expansion of what is scenic character and what needs to be protected for that scenic character in the DCP.
Well, the reason why I bring that up, it's only because I've had recent experience in a situation where barristers who confuse themselves and Queen's counsellors and lawyers who confuse the whole situation in terms of the objective of something, and they're basically saying if it's a development standard, then it can be reviewed on the basis of clause 4.6 variation. If it's not a development standard, then it's a prohibition. So it depends on how it's worded in the actual LEP with regards to it being a prohibition. Once it becomes a prohibition, that's it, it's finished, it's over and done with. A tree in the middle of the site will prevent a house being built because that tree, or 3 or 4 trees in the middle of the site.
Through you, Madam Chair, Parliamentary Council will review the clauses, but we don't want to prohibit development. If there is a tree in the middle of a block, the tree would need to be removed if that was the only place that they could build the house. So I take on board what you're saying, Councillor Katras, but we'll make sure that it doesn't end up in a prohibition era.
Apart from that, I think it's an excellent report. I've read this document, which is very interesting, and I think you've done quite a substantive, put a substantive effort into it, and thank you for doing it. And Peter, welcome back. It's good to see you back. It wasn't a slow recovery, but it wasn't a fast recovery, but good to see you here.
Thank you, Councillor Katras. Councillors, any other? Councillor Lansbury?
Thanks, Madam Chair. I'd also like to add some comments along the lines of our speaker earlier tonight, Adrian Polhill, one of our community members who's been on this ride since pretty much day one, and pass on my thanks and acknowledge all of the hard work of the staff to get to this point. This is another step in the process. Next step is obviously hopefully achieving Gateway and then going on exhibition, but it has been a long road. The public submission process was very extensive a few years ago, and the local planning panel, I recall, we were meeting online at that point. A number of us gave submissions to that, which seemed to help influence the outcome. And when I was reading through the report today, again, it said that the most prominent issues that were focused on during the submissions were the natural environment, density, lot size and local character. And I think this report and this planning proposal has got it right. You know, they've listened to the sentiments from the community, they listened to us as councillors, so I'm very grateful to that. And, you know, we seem to be talking about it probably in glowing terms every time it comes back to us, but it's a really big achievement. It was at the planning panel last month, and obviously this is just another step in the process, but in conjunction with the other big report that we've got on tonight relating to housing reform, the two reports do go hand in hand. A lot of good work has been done by Kathy McMahon and staff of Georges River Council. So thank you very much for getting us to this point, and I look forward to the outcome from Gateway.
Councillor Marnie?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Paul. I'd just like to say, in response to the report we're considering at the moment, the recommendations were welcomed by many residents of Peakhurst as well as other wards who value the high level of biodiversity which thrives despite increasing suburban sprawl around so many areas of Sydney, thanks to the large tracts of native bushland, animal habitat and vegetation present on both private and public land holdings in close proximity to the Georges River. The expert recommendations reassure the community that existing controls will not only be maintained but also be strengthened so that our rich biodiversity will continue to flourish throughout our foreshore suburbs through very stringent measures, such as safeguarding new areas with both moderate and high terrestrial biodiversity values, establishing new local character planning provisions for unique character areas, maintaining existing lot sizes for areas taken out of the FSPA, that is, a minimum subdivision lot size of 700 square metres with 1,000 square metre minimum for dual occupancies. Increased landscape areas which will protect and enhance biodiversity, encourage recovery of threatened species, mandating larger minimum landscape area requirements and minimum 20% landscape areas for multi-dwelling houses, terraces and manor homes in the event that state governments' low and mid-rise housing reforms are approved. I commend the community for making their opinions known to the staff, and for the staff who have reflected those views so accurately in this planning proposal. And sincerely thank the Principal Strategic Planner and Manager of Strategic Planning and the former and current directors, Ms Bishop and Mr Hill, for their efforts, which I believe will set a high standard for other councils across Australia. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Manning. Councillors, any other comments or queries? If not, I will put the motion and we'll go around the room.
Madam Deputy Mayor,
For.
Councillor Marnie,
For.
Councillor Ian Capehart, for Councillor Jamieson, for Councillor Catras,
For.
Councillor Lansbury, for Councillor Wang.
For.
That's 7 votes unanimous.
I declare the motion carried. And we move on to EMB 026-24, Oatley Park Plan of Management and Master Plan Adoption. And before I call for a mover and seconder, Ms Michelle Fawcett is going to give us an overview of this report.
Through you, Madam Chair. This matter was previously before the committee in April 2023 for endorsement for public exhibition. The draft Oatley Plan of Management and Master Plan were publicly exhibited from the 1st of November to the 15th of December in 2023. A total of 51 submissions were received. Key issues raised included greater protection for flora and fauna, the need for more signage within the park regarding traffic, the no picking of flowers, no littering, safety concerns in regard to vehicles and pedestrians throughout the park, objection to additional new development, greater maintenance within the park, improved management of parking, objection to any mountain biking within the park, and objection to car entry from the Douglas H Street, and also the recommendation to not relocate the park entry gates as proposed in the master plan. Changes to address the submissions have been made to the Plan of Management and Master Plan are outlined throughout the report. No major changes have been recommended to the Plan of Management and Master Plan. And if the plan is adopted, it will be placed on Council's website. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillors, can I please call for a mover and seconder? Councillor Jamieson moved and Councillor Lansbury seconded. Councillors, Councillor Jamieson, do you wish to speak to motion? Councillor Lansbury?
I just have a question, if I may, Madam Chair. It's regarding one of the big issues I recall with Oatley Park fairly recent history was mountain biking, and I know that it's not allowed within the park, but I'm just wondering about the signage. How are we going with that? Is that actually installed, or is that still yet to come?
Through you, Madam Chair, we have to wait for the plan of management to be adopted, and that authorises the signage to be prepared and then implemented by their rangers. But we need the adoption of the plan of management. Yeah.
Councillors, any other comments? Councillor Marnie?
Thanks, Deputy Mayor Borg. I'd just like to thank again our Manager of Strategic Planning, Catherine McMahon, and her staff for putting together an excellent document which will go a long way towards protecting our park, which is loved by so many people, both within and outside of LGA. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Marnie. Any other councillors have any questions or comments? If not, we'll put the motion.
Madam Deputy Mayor.
For.
Councillor Marnie.
For.
Councillor Amby Hapenhove. For. Councillor Jamieson. For. Councillor Patras.
For.
Councillor Lansbury. For. Councillor Wang.
For.
That's 7 votes for, unanimous.
I declare the motion carried. And we move to EMB 027-24, Georges River Council Smoke-Free Policy for Outdoor Areas 2024, outcome of public exhibition, and our Manager of Environment, Health and Regulatory Services, Mr. Andrew Spooner, is going to give us an overview of this report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Now for something completely different, the smoke-free policy for outdoor areas. This is the version 2 of this document, which was initially adopted by Council 4 years ago, I believe, and it was as a result of some work initiated by Councillor Lansbury at the time. On the 25th of March, Council considered a number of reports that were due for review and adopted to put those policies out on public exhibition, one of which was the smoke-free policy for outdoor areas. The policy was on exhibition, and there is an error in the report, and I have to admit that in front of my new director that I've made an error. It does say on the 13th of March, but that would have predated Council's determination, so I'm not that good, but it was the 4th of April until the 3rd of June. During that time, there were 10 submissions received. 8 of them were in general support of the policy, and 2 asked for further questions or clarifications around signage and enforcement. What does this policy do? It sets up 4 key areas, and one of which is that outlining Council's responsibility as a local government area to look after its people and try and reduce the amount of smoking in outdoor areas of high congregation. It also establishes the 3 existing outdoor smoke-free areas that we have. It also provides criteria for council should they wish to provide additional areas across the LGA, and sets out the criteria that needs to be met in order for another area to be nominated. And it also clarifies the enforcement agencies responsible. And under this policy, this is a policy that's supported by the Local Government Act, and that in that policy, the council is the appropriate regulatory authority. There's also the Smoke-Free Environment Act, which prescribes a number of key locations, including outdoor dining areas, sporting fields, and children's playgrounds, where you cannot smoke, and that's enforced by New South Wales public health staff, so not to be confused. The submissions we received covered a number of areas, some of which supported the notion that smoking is bad for health, and which is a real reason why the policy was developed. Some people suggested it should be across the LGA, that we should have a smoking banned at all public places in the LGA. That's pretty much outside the scope of this report, because under the Local Government Act, we have to erect signs in specific locations, and the offence is not to comply with that sign. So that would be probably operationally very difficult and costly for us to do. Suggest that might be something that would be better suited to the Smoke-Free Environment Act. While the policy is aimed at being self-regulatory, we put signs up in locations, and the rangers will do some patrols. We will do a bit of a revamp on our enforcement. We'll also do a revamp on promoting the policy with some comms. and we are going to put up some more signage. We did a review of those areas and found that we could probably improve, I guess, exposure by putting some more signs up. There were some questions raised about what are we doing about cigarette butt pollution, and the report talks about a $35,000 grant we council secured recently to do some work in and around hospitals to reduce cigarette butt litter. And it asked for more areas to be created. And I think as part of that revamp of this policy, we can ask people to make nominations for any area they think meets the criteria in the policy so they can be included in the future. And if that was the case, we would put a report back up to council to get that endorsed. But overall, as most of the submissions were supportive, the recommendation is that the version of the policy that was placed in public exhibition be adopted. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr Spooner. Councillors, can I call for a mover and seconder? Councillor Lansbury has moved and Councillor Jamieson has seconded. Councillor Lansbury, do you wish to make any comments?
I would like to make some comments, if I may, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mr Spooner, for providing this report and for the updated policy. There's nothing worse than a former smoker, which I am of one, and I gave up like 35 years ago, but I still detest it. And I remember bringing it forward to Cobra Council, and it was around the same time as when it was being gradually phased out from clubs and different locations. I remember at the time I couldn't wait for it, and I was very pleased when we were able to introduce it here. It's more of a deterrent. It's very difficult to enforce. I don't expect our rangers to go around booking people for having cigarettes, but if there's more signage, which I'm pleased to hear that there'll be more signage around, just to discourage people. It's interesting, back in the old days when I was a smoker, everybody did, but I just had a quick look today to see what the current smoking rate is, and the smoking rate among Australians aged 14 and over has been steadily declining for decades, reaching 8.3% in 22-23, down from 24% in 1991. So that's a really significant drop in people taking it up. My concern is I hope that people don't go from not being able to get vapes back to cigarettes, but I guess time will tell. But yeah, look, thank you. I appreciate you bringing this forward again, and I hope that we do sort of set the tone around the LGA for people to take up more healthier pursuits than smoking or vaping.
Thank you, Councillor Lansbury. Councillor Jamieson?
I would like to just maybe ask some questions, but it's I think with the asset infrastructure director, we've actually been discussing issues with specifically with Penshurst as well, with a lot of the cigarette butts and stuff there. And one of the points that they were saying that if there was a sign there, as you're saying, and maybe discussing that they can be fined, they believe that yes, that would stop it, because at the moment they're not very much aware of the issue. But it is a very big issue in a lot of areas. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Jamieson.
Through the chair, could I make a couple of comments, because
sure,
I have you might got first-hand experience in this sort of matter. Yes, I come from a background when we were at universities. We used to light up a cigarette during lectures, even during what do you call it, during examinations. When you get stressed out, that's what you did. I must admit, when Councillor Lansbury put her notice of motion forward, I was still a smoker. I'm probably smoking, I don't know, somewhere between 15 to 20 cigarettes a day. I am really happy with this report. I do believe that it is, as Councillor Lansbury said, it's going to be very hard to enforce, and imposes quite a lot of, I suppose, pressure on our staff to run around trying to get rid of those people that smoke cigarettes. Look, there's been so much said about don't smoke. I remember your Brenner saying don't smoke, and that's all it was, because he passed away with cancer. My view is this: it takes more than just science, it takes more than just literature, it takes a lot more than basically telling people how bad it is. I would suggest that when I stopped smoking, it actually took a quadruple bypass to stop me smoking, and that's basically how and why I stopped smoking. I would suggest that one of the best ways to stop people from smoking is to actually do a video. do a video of open heart surgery. I know it sounds awful. I know you might want to throw up, but I'll tell you what, that video will stop you smoking. Or do a video of the extraction of a cancer. Now, I don't care how much I don't care if it makes a person throw up and makes them feel uncomfortable. If you're a smoker and you're smoking 15 to 20 cigarettes a day, you deserve to see that video because that's where you're going to end up. So,
Thank you,
okay.
Councillor Catchers. In support of the motion, councillors, any other comments or questions on this item? If not, I will put the motion.
Madam Deputy Mayor,
For.
Councillor Marnie,
For.
Councillor Amber Haberhart, Councillor Jamieson,
For.
Councillor Catras,
For.
Councillor Lansbury, Councillor Wang.
For.
That's 7 votes for, unanimous.
I declare the motion carried and go on to EMV 0-28-24, Georges River Council Enforcement Policy 2024, outcome of public exhibition. And again, we have our Manager of Environment, Health and Regulatory Services, Mr. Spooner, to give us an overview.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm very pleased to announce that this is the third generation of this particular policy that was adopted by Council back in 2017. As with the last policy, it was considered by Council on the 25th of March to go on public exhibition for a period of 60 days. I note the same error in relation to the time frame being 4th of April rather than the 13th of March. So that's two bad marks against my name. So I must have copied it across. The good news is there were no submissions to this report, which suggests to me that we're finally getting it right. So that's, or maybe no one was interested in it. I don't know. But the good news is there were no submissions. What does this report do? There's 3 real key areas. It provides 8 guiding principles to assist staff in carrying out their regulatory roles and gives them issues such as how to use discretion, making sure procedural fairness is followed. Looks at issues such as previous conduct of a particular person who may have created the offence, the nature of the activity, whether it was trivial or minor or significant environmental harm, whether it's in the public interest, if there's a cost benefit to take any action against somebody, and to act impartially, and to also consider reputational damage to council for any action that may be taken. So I guess from that point of view, it guides the staff. The other key area is it talks about the range of enforcement tools that the staff can use and gives examples of where they may be appropriate, which is, I guess, a guide to members of the public. And these can range from education of people on minor issues, using warning notices where we don't want to take up any further re-inspections or follow-up actions, through to notices, orders, issuing up on-the-spot fines, and obviously going to court, and also list what courts we can use and what opportunities and what actions might be appropriate for that. And then the policy ends with a range of responsibilities for councillors and staff in the enacting of that policy. As I'm pleased to say that there were no submissions. The recommendation is that the policy, as it was endorsed previously by council and placed on exhibition, be adopted in that format. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Spooner. Councillors, can I call for a mover and seconder, please? Councillor Marnie has moved it and Councillor Amber Haberhart has seconded it. Councillor Marnie, do you wish to make any comments?
No, thank you.
Councillor Amber Haberhart? Any other councillors have any questions or comments?
Just that I
Lansbury?
don't think people weren't interested. It's probably just very well done.
Thank you, Councillor Lansbury. Okay, we'll put the motion.
Madam Deputy Mayor,
For.
Councillor Marnie,
For.
Councillor Amber Haberhart, Councillor Jamieson, Councillor Catras,
For.
Councillor Lansbury, Councillor Wang.
For.
That's 7 votes for, unanimous.
I declare the motion carried. And we move to EMV 029-24, Georges River Affordable Housing Policy, Outcomes of Public Exhibition. And our Manager of Strategic Planning, Ms. McMahon, is going to give an overview of this report, please.
Right. Through you, Madam Chair. Council at its meeting held in March this year resolved to amend its affordable housing policy and place it on exhibition. The affordable housing policy required amendments to reflect legislative changes, the delay in council's affordable housing contribution scheme, and the subsequent delay in meeting the affordable housing targets that are in the policy. The draft policy was placed on exhibition for 60 days, and one submission was received raising concern that council has not met its targets, that the targets should be in accordance with the New South Wales State Government targets for affordable housing, and that affordable housing can be supplied in Beverly Hills Local Centre Master Plan. The concern raised in the submission is valid, and I point that out in paragraph 13 of the report. The delay has been due to a number of reasons though. Council doesn't have an affordable housing contribution scheme. We did resolve to prepare one in November 2022, but we only received direction from the New South Wales State Government on a way forward in November last year. Our council can't prepare an affordable housing contribution scheme unless it has the support of the New South Wales State Government. Also, our VPA policy, our voluntary planning agreement policy, is currently under review. I was due to present that to council late last year, but then in early December, the New South Wales Government issued new practice notes on how to prepare planning agreements and raised the issue of whether or not council could use value capture. And those practice notes won't be effective until later on this year. So the draft planning, the voluntary planning agreement policy can't be finalised until those practice notes have been issued by the state government. So at this stage, the affordable housing targets in the policy don't mean anything because we don't have the rules to support them. We are, however, will be reviewing our affordable housing program to consider the elements, targets, delivery rates, and the planning framework. And this work has started. One of the conditions from the Department of Planning on a way forward was council to undertake feasibility testing. And that testing is nearing completion, and I hope to brief it to council shortly. So we will be looking at an affordable housing target, but at this stage we just don't have the evidence to support one. I wish to point out that the policy will be due for review in another 2 years. At that stage, we should be able to include affordable housing targets in the policy. Therefore, no changes are proposed to the draft policy as a result of the submission, and a copy of the final Georges River affordable housing policy is in attachment attachment 1 to the report. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Ms. McMahon. Councillors, can I please call for a mover and seconder? Councillor Jamieson has moved. Councillor Catras has seconded. Councillor Jamieson, do you have any comments? Councillor Catras?
Yeah, I do have a question. It's based on what I heard last night in the news, and it's got a lot to do. It's got to do with a situation where the state government was selling off a block of land, which I thought which apparently was going to produce 300 units. Now, apparently, our state government indicated that they were going to ensure that all projects that this is a lead up to my question. All projects that involve Commonwealth or public land will have a 30% component of social housing, affordable housing, etc. Apparently, none of that's going to occur on this block of land. I can't remember where the address is. Are we going to have? And when the Minister was questioned, she indicated, oh no, it's not about one project, it's about the average through the whole state, the 30 affordable housing come. Are we going to do it per project? Oh, because we're looking at, I'm not saying that we're going to do this because I know that we're going to be doing an affordable. Is it going to be per project or is it going to be an average amongst projects, so that one project might decide to give 50 out of the 100 as affordable housing, and another project doesn't give any, and therefore we're meeting up with our average?
Through you, Madam Chair. As I said, we're only up to the feasibility stage. Our current controls are not feasible at present. So we are looking at a staged approach that all residential development is levied a percentage, but we have to introduce that percentage step by step. So under the Affordable Housing Contribution Scheme, as it may appear now, it may say that in 2 years' time we'll start levying residential development a 1% levy, but we haven't gone that far yet, Councillor Catras. All we know is not feasible now. It may be feasible in the future, and our consultants are looking at when it could be feasible in the future to do a 1% or a 2% percentage on all development. The other avenue is through planning proposals. We will be, once we get our voluntary planning agreement policy updated to allow affordable housing to be part of a planning agreement, we will be asking for affordable housing through a planning agreement. But as you know, each planning agreement is different. It's subject to negotiation between the proponent and council. So we won't have an average at this stage, and I haven't heard that at all. At this stage, we've received no affordable housing applications under the 30% additional bonus under the SEP. So,
Just a follow-up question. Could you, because the word affordable seems to be bandied about, and we've now been rated as the most expensive country in the world as for the provision of housing and provision of actual housing and dwellings and rental housing. Maybe you might want to take this on notice. What is the government saying in terms of what makes a place affordable? Is it 2/3 of the market rent? Is it 2/3 of the price? Is it 3/4 of the price?
through you, Madam Chair, no, the government's not giving any advice on that. That's why they recommended we had to do our own feasibility testing for our own LGA, and that's what we've done, and that's nearly completed. Well, I'm hoping it may be briefed to the new council after September, but there will be an avenue from that feasibility for council to start levying affordable housing contribution, but it will have to be staged because it's currently not viable, and it may not be viable for 1 or 2 years.
Okay, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Catras. Councillors, any other questions or comments? If not, we'll put this motion.
Madam Deputy Mayor.
For.
Councillor Marnie.
For.
Councillor Amber Haberhart. For. Councillor Jamieson. For. Councillor Catras.
For.
Councillor Lansbury. For. Councillor Wang.
For.
That's 7 votes for, unanimous.
I'll declare the motion carried, and before we move on to the next item, I'll wait for Councillor Amber Haberhart to leave the meeting. She went off early. And we move to the last item on the business paper, which is EMB 030-24, endorsement of additional and diverse housing planning proposal for Gateway determination. And our principal strategic planner, Miss Anne Quinn, is going to give us an overview.
Excuse me, David Nedborg. I just realised I should have made a special disclosure on this item because my principal place of residence is located with the existing foreshore sea protection area. I didn't lodge it beforehand, but I'll lodge that tonight if it's okay.
And do you want that to be in relation to the biodiversity character FSPA planning proposal, which was the first item that we heard. So Councillor Marty can submit that online now, and we'll record that in the minutes. That was on EMV 0-25-24, the endorsement of biodiversity, character, and FSPA planning proposal. So Ms Quinn is going to give us an overview of the endorsement of the additional and diverse housing planning proposal for Gateway determination. Thank you.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Chair. So this matter was previously before committee back in May of this year, and at the subsequent council meeting on the 27th of May, council endorsed the preparation of this planning proposal known as the additional and diverse housing planning proposal. So this is an accelerated planning proposal that we have prepared to amend the Georges River LEP 2021, and this is done in response to the New South Wales government's low and mid-rise housing proposal, it shows council's commitment to the provision of additional and diverse housing controls through immediate changes in lieu of the state government's blanket housing proposal. So the subject planning proposal, in accordance with ministerial directions, was considered by the local planning panel at the meeting held on the 20th of June 2024, and the planning proposal received their support. The local planning panel, alongside their support, also recommended that council consider the creation of additional R3, so medium density, and R4 high density residential zones in the future review of council's local strategic planning statement. So following that, this report seeks council's endorsement to forward the planning proposal to the New South Wales government for a gateway determination. The contents of this planning proposal remain unchanged from what was presented at the council meeting back in May, and these changes are broadly summarised as follows. In the R2 zone, seek to reduce the minimum lot size for dual occupancies, as well as introduce multi-dwelling housing and terraces. The R2 areas where these changes are applicable are outside of the existing heritage conservation areas, the existing foreshore scenic protection area, the proposed FSPA, and the proposed unique character areas. The existing FSPA, proposed FSPA, and character areas are the same as what is identified by the biodiversity, character, and FSPA planning proposal. The planning proposal also continues to request the prohibition of manor houses in the R2 zone. It seeks to reduce the lot size requirements for dual occupancies in the R3 zone. It also seeks to introduce residential flat buildings into the R3 zone while increasing the overall height and FSR, but at the same time respecting the residential hierarchy that's been created by the Georges River LEP. In addition, it provides a bonus FSR incentive for townhouse developments with the aim of addressing the missing middle topology. And finally, it implements the recommendations of the Hersel City Centre Urban Design Strategy. This planning proposal, because it is complementary to the biodiversity, character, and FSPA planning proposal outlined in item EMB 025-24, it will be progressed alongside that planning proposal. However, it should be noted that this additional and diverse housing planning proposal will only be progressed if council is successful in seeking a deferral from the state government's low and mid-rise housing reform. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Ms Quinn. Councillors, I'll call for a mover and seconder, if I may. Councillor Jamieson and Councillor, I'm not sure what Catrice was it? Councillor Jamieson, do you have any comments?
I actually had a question. So I'm currently where I'm living, I'm getting mails from members of Parliament saying that this has already gone through, and that any place within 400 and 800 metres, basically what the government said, that people can put a plan in and that will get approved. So I guess there's no, what is the situation? Are developers able to do that at this point in time? Is that what you're saying, that they can?
Sorry, Councillor Jamieson, just to clarify your question, when you say this has already gone through, are you referring to the state government's low and mid-rise housing SEP, and that you're saying developers are saying that is in place and they can get developments across through
Yes.
that? Is that the question? Okay, through the manager.
Okay, well, through you, Madam Chair. I believe it was it last week, that the state government did indeed make an amendment to the housing SEP, which is the State Environmental Planning Policy, and it made the amendment what is known as Stage 1, and what it did is that it permitted dual occupancies as a land use across all R2 zones. In summary, it doesn't have any impact on the Georges River LGA because we already permit dual occupancies in the R2 zone. However, there are councils across the state of New South Wales that currently do not permit dual occupancies, and this amendment by the state government to the housing SEP enables dual occupancies to be permitted across all R2 zones. It doesn't come with any development standards, so what we know as the typical height, floor space ratio and as such, these will still rely on council's own LEPs. Thank you.
Just a follow-up question from Councillor Jemisin's question. You mentioned that it doesn't change our situation. Does it mention in that housing policy where they made the change, this does not apply to foreshore scenic protection area, areas, whatever else, I mean, special character areas, etc. Does it say that clearly? Because if that's not in there, we've got a serious problem.
Through you, Madam Chair. No, so what the state government had done is an amendment to the housing SEP, which applies to the entire state, and no areas of exception have been made within that amendment. In saying that, in summary, it doesn't change our current situation because dual occupancies are currently permitted within the foreshore scenic protection area, and it does follow our current controls of needing 1,000 square meters of site area to, as minimum, to provide a dual occupancy development. So what the state government has made, they did not seek to change or override council's current development standards at this stage. It is flagged, however, for stage 2, which they said further information will be released later this year.
So just back to Councillor Jemisin's question, so you've touched on that amendment, but back to, I think the original question was, because the state government has exhibited their proposal, would a developer be able to submit something under an exhibited proposal and get any progress with that?
Yes, in response to that, no, an exhibited proposal is not legislation, is not enforceable. So no, council will only be supporting or even looking at or accepting development applications that are lodged in accordance with our current planning controls, which is the Georges River LEP and DCP.
Okay, thank you. That answers your question, Councillor Jemison. Thank you. Does any other councillors have any other comments or questions on this planning proposal? Councillor Lansbury?
Thanks, Madam Chair. I would like to say something similar to what I said in relation to the biodiversity report we dealt with earlier. This is the second part of the big two that our council staff have been working very hard on. I acknowledge all the work that Cathy Martin and Quinn have done on this and others. It's been a big deal to get to this point. Obviously, it's not a done deal that we'll get an exemption or a deferral, I should say, is probably the correct language on that. But with the amount of work that's gone into this, I think it's made a very strong case that Georges River can actually argue that we can uptake quite a substantial amount of additional density, and particularly in relation to low rise and medium density, which seems to be what the average resident is more willing to accept rather than towers and things like that. And the amendments to the LEP that are proposed in this are sensible. We've spent quite some time over the last few months in workshops discussing what was the best way forward, and I think again we've landed on the best way forward. Hopefully the state government will agree with us, or not the state government, let's say the department will agree with us, and we'll refer it to the minister to grant a deferral. So I suppose we'll watch this space.
Councillor Catchus?
Mr. Chair, before you close off this item, I just want to check to make sure that my declaration is actually there, because I couldn't read it from distance just before.
Yes, it was.
Thank you. That's all.
Thank you, Councillor Catchers. I'd just like to echo Councillor Lansbury's comments as well. I think Ms Quinn referred to this as an accelerated planning proposal, and if we compare it to the biodiversity one, we talked about that starting in 2020, so it does give an indication of how long a planning proposal can sometimes take. And I know that both of your team and your staff have worked extremely hard to accelerate this as fast as humanly possible for the benefit of our Greater Georges River community, in the hopes that this puts us in a good position to request that this be implemented in lieu of the non-mid-rise housing SEP. So thank you to all of your staff taking us councillors along on the journey, because it was a lot for all of us to consume and understand, and I think you guys have done a very good job in teaching us lay people what it all means, so that we can understand the options and make our decisions. And I feel like it's put us in a good position as a council, and hopefully we get to a good place. You want to make a comment to the director?
Chairperson, I'd absolutely agree with the position that staff and yourselves have put yourselves in as good as it can be. We have a coherent option that's viable to the Department of Planning, where we can articulate our views on what is a supercharged bit of strategic planning work. We can critique the housing targets that have been allocated to Georges River, and we can do so in an evidence-based manner, whilst retaining plenty of control on behalf of the community to basically drive what the future care is going to be like. To that end, we have met with the Housing Target Department of Planning staff, and on the back of the commentary from staff, have asked for their support, and we'll do that again with the Department of Planning team on Thursday, who are actually more in control for the housing reforms, and we'll do the same through a presentation that matches up with the report. It's a very viable option going forward. So again, asking for their support for the exemption.
Thank you, Mr Hill. Councillors, any other comments or questions? If not, we'll put the motion.
Madam Deputy Mayor.
For.
Councillor Marnie.
For.
Councillor Jamieson.
For.
Councillor Cattrus. For. Councillor Lansbury. For. Councillor Wayne.
For.
That's 6 votes for, unanimous.
I'll declare that motion carried, and there being no other business on the agenda, I declare the meeting closed at 8:04 p.m. Thank you.